time to leave Belitung. We're heading south towards Kilimanjaro, which is about 200 nautical, well, it's more than that, it's nearly 300 nautical miles from here. So we're going to try two anchorages that I can see kind of might be suitable between here and our jump off point from the southern end of Belitung. Yeah, the charts are out here, things are not charted. There's nothing online there from Navionics or Zulu Waterways of people going to these anchorages, but you know, what's the worst that could happen? But I think we'll be okay, and it looks like we've got a little bit of a sailing breeze today. Today's run should hopefully be about 30 nautical miles to the northeastern side of Belitung, where I hope to get a little bit of protection from the southeast, which will be the prevailing wind hopefully. If the wind comes in from the east, we'll be exposed. If a thunderstorm comes in from the east all the way through to the west, we'll be exposed. But you know, it's better than trying to do 90 miles in one day. So we can do 30 today, 60 tomorrow, and then do 200 the next day. So we're going to go and give it a shot. Boats are about adventure, so let's give it a go. The wind has slowly filled in over the last sort of hour to about 15 knots. We're still beating to windward, we're about 36 degrees on the wind, but we are making the course that we want, but only just. We have had to put one or two tacks in, but for the time being we're doing okay. The crazy thing is the anchorage I had in mind for tonight is probably not going to be suitable with this wind now blowing directly into it. So we may just have to keep going all the way to do the full 300. Yeah, it's not going to make a happy wife, but you know, what do you do? Here we are sailing at 36 degrees on the wind, beating to windward. My beautiful wife has made lunch for me. How good's that? Thank you, my darling. That's good. Kajal moussap. So basically Thai egg omelette with minced pork and rice. Love it. Tell you what, nothing tells you you're going the wrong direction than seeing heaps of other boats going the opposite direction. So we are beating to windward, and we knew we would have to do that to get back to Australia in the timing that we have. But we've passed, this is our 6th boat now today. They're part of the Sail Indonesia rally and they're heading to Belitung. So we've passed, this is our 6th boat today. They're going downwind with a kite up, having a great sail. That wind has continued to build. We're getting about 20 to 23 knots apparent, but we're making 5 of that. So we're getting probably 15 to 18 knots, but right on the nose. We're pointing at 36 degrees. I've ended up reefing the main and tucking in a little bit of the headsail as well. Well, the wind that came out of the northeast, or east-northeast, today at up to 20 knots, now high teens. As we got closer to this potential anchorage, and luckily for us, just as we sort of made the entrance, the wind just started to sort of drop away and swing even more south, and we ended up in a fairly sheltered anchorage here at the northeast side of Belitung. It was a little bit of a apprehensive entry because the charts here are very inaccurate, and we didn't quite know what we were going to find, but it turned out the charts were pretty good, and certainly with the satellite overlay that we had with Navionics, it allowed us to see a reef that is uncharted, or what looked like a reef, and we were able to go around it on the approach and satellite image. Anyway, we proceeded in here. We found no less than 10 metres coming in, and finally just anchored up as far in as we could get. And it's really quite calm in here. It's really quite peaceful. There's a little bit of a swell sort of coming in from wrapping around that's been set up by that east-southeasterly wind, but I expect that to drop more and more. And here presently there's a tide that runs through. It can run up to about a knot. So what's happening is we're laying stern to that swell, so it's really quite comfortable. When the tide stops and the boat turns side onto it, we might roll a bit, but then when we swing around, we'll be bow into it, so it won't be a problem. I think we're in for a reasonably good night here, certainly better than trying to sleep under sail. We had a surprisingly good night last night here at the northeast tip of Belitung, in an anchorage where I couldn't find any record of anybody else anchoring. I'm sure people have, but no one's left a mark. So on our website I'll definitely leave this anchorage for others to reference. So in light to moderate east-southeasterlies, this turned out to be a fantastic little anchorage. Whether there's more dangers and risks on the way in, I couldn't say. I can only say that the track we took turned out to be a good one. But I suspect that most of the approaches in here are open. I don't think there's any major surprises here, but I would definitely still be taking it carefully due to the inaccuracy of the charts in this area. Anyway, I'm just pulling the pickup. We're in 5 metres of water. I'm just about to break out, and we're just sailing the pick out this morning. 70 odd miles to go, and then it's time to go. So I'm just going to throw that helm over now to port, because that's the way I want it to come out, if I didn't leave it too late. Alright, anchors on deck. Anyway, plan for today is to sail south along the east coast of Belitung. So this is where we are now, up here. We're going to sail south along the east coast of Belitung. There's a couple of little islands down here. So that's about 60 miles away. We've really got to make some miles here, and ghosting along is not going to do it. But I think the wind will fill in as the day goes on, and we'll get better than 5, 6, 7 knots, something like that. Well, this is the smile of a happy man. After 8 hours, we've finally got an angle that we can turn the engine off and sail. As we've been heading sort of south along that east coast of Belitung, every time we took a turn towards the south to follow the channel, thinking that that will open up the angle for us, the bloody wind swung around. So I reckon the wind swung probably 35, nearly 40 degrees during the day today. And every time we turned a corner it was bang on the nose again. We turned a corner it was bang on the nose again. But finally we've turned a corner and we're getting 18 knots off our port side at about 45 degrees. And I'm about to turn even further, which is going to give us about 50 to 60 degree reach, and we are going to fly. Already we're doing 7 knots, whereas we were doing 4 to 4.5 under motor against all this shit. Anyway, that means we're highly likely to make it to our anchorage before dark tonight. Makes me happy. So as we came around here, every time we turned, the wind started coming from here, and then when we turned, the wind swung to there, and then we turned, the wind swung to there, and now finally it swung back a little bit and we've opened up that angle. Our destination for tonight is about there. Well, this is the island of Pulau Rotan at the southeastern end of Belitung, and my plan is to try and go in and anchor in there. Again, it's not one of these places that's been written up. There's nothing in the guides, there's nothing in Zulu Waterways, there's nothing on Navionics, so we've got to go and figure it out ourselves, but it doesn't look like it's going to present a big problem. I just thought maybe it was just too round and the swell would get around it. But I'm actually, with all the reef in front of it, I actually think it might be pretty good inside. If it's not, when we get there, we can always turn around and head down to Pulau Panjang. It's only about 20 minutes away. But I think this one will be suitable. It's also an easier approach, as near as I can tell, although the satellite imagery on Navionics is pretty poor for that side of the coast. But I think we'll be able to sneak in, drop the pick in about 10 metres and be in fairly calm water. And it's an easy entrance and exit, just basically straight in, straight out.